Hello, hello, hello. Incredible greetings again. How are you guys doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. This is a live broadcast. So we are not going to just jump right into the discussion if you are watching the playback of this. We do have to kind of play around with the viewership. Not say play around with it, but we have to go back in and share and all that kind of good jazz before we officially get started so that we are not teaching to no one. Okay, I gotta pull the chair up. Either that or pull my desk down. Or let's lower my desk because it's cut off at my chin. Alrighty. Looking at the playback of this. Okay, we should be good there. And I need my water. I can already tell I'm gonna need my water. Alrighty, so let's get this all set up and all shared out. Hey, my Mickey fell. Alrighty, let's go and get it all shared out. All shared out. Share with a friend too. I know it's kind of midday. It's probably like an odd time for me to be live, but y'all know how y'all do. Y'all know y'all be at work with your earbuds in, doing stuff you ain't got no business doing. This is one where there's no visual. You can definitely just listen in on the conversation. I mean, if you can sneak and, say hello, that would be great. And, drop some comments here and there. But I know there's also some folk who are probably home. I was actually just that person where I was like, what do I want to watch? And I started watching some YouTube, trying to catch up on some of my podcast ones. And I was like, I'd rather go live myself. So here we are. So I'm pretty sure there are some who are home, who are available to be active and engaged. And this is going to be a pretty good topic. Okay. So let me, can y'all see what, I don't know how it shows up. If you can see what the topic is of this broadcast, can you do me a favor and put it in the chat? Oh, wait, I've lost my whole stream. Wait, am I even still live right now? Check the post that's on my page. So if you go to my Facebook, I did put a post up. Let's see. Okay, let's just go over here so that I'm in the same window. Do 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 do. All right, so let's go ahead and share this. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay, what is wrong with something is wrong with this thing and how what's this thing? My keyboard is sitting. It's like tapping and it's driving me absolutely insane in the membrane. It's like it's not leveled or something. Okay, let me move my mouse pad over. Okay, maybe that's what it was. Okay. Okay, let's go share again. I think I'm gonna wait to do that. Okay, so we are all shared out. There we go, there we go, there we go. We're gonna put that one up. Hey, 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 incredible greetings. Uh, let's see, incredible greetings. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, just say hello, hello. Thank you for tapping in. Hello. Thank you guys. Tina Turner. Hey. Hello, hello, hello. All right. So make sure you guys give this video a like, a thumbs up. If you're watching on YouTube, you got to click out of the live chat to give the video a thumbs up and make sure that you are subscribed. If you are watching this over on Facebook, give the video a like, a heart, a care. I mean, you can give me the angry face. I mean, a reaction is a reaction, honey. Drop a hey, how you doing? Let me know where you are watching from. Also, let me know what it is that you do in the creative space. I like to try and figure out who all I am reaching so that I know kind of how to format some of my live videos. Like, are there a majority sublimators that follow me to where I need to maybe cut back on talking about paper crafting or party favors? Well, maybe there's a lot of people who do party favors or party decor, um, just customized items for events, because I don't really call them party favors, but some people do, and I try and kind of keep with the lingo that you guys as crafters use, but I never really call them like party favors in my business. But if you are someone that makes things like chip bags, Capri Suns, um, covered Rice Krispie treats, if you make custom Rice Krispie treats, like you dip them, if you make dipped apples, if you do like the Pringles cans, if you wrap any like bar of candy, I've even seen it go as far as people were making custom wraps and custom templates for the cereal boxes, like the little mini cereal boxes. I mean, just about any and everything that you can think of, they have covered it in some way, shape, or form. A bag of goldfish, a honey bun, you know. So if you're someone that does those things, if you're into paper crafting, whether it is with paper packs that are pre-printed and you use them in ways where they're like liners to things and just mixing, matching paper packs, if you do 3D paper crafting and creating like just 3D things, just let me know what it is that you do in the creative space. Are you all t-shirts or apparel? So I'm not going to say t-shirts, like all apparel, whether it is shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, jerseys, dresses, jeans, shorts, pants. I mean, you name it, anything in apparel. Let me know what it is that you do in the creative space. Hello, hello, hello. That's my city girl, period. I am a hobbyist and do a bit of everything for self and friends and client promo items and Christmas gifts. Okay. Hmm. Gifting is actually, I had some Cracker Jacks. Gifting is actually how I got started in this whole creative thing. Um, I was doing that long before I started monetizing it and me myself putting a price to it. I would make certain things for others, like I would gift even decor to them. I remember it was like one time I've made like little picks and things for events. I used to hand paint a lot of stuff. So I hand painted like these lollipops in animal print. I used to hand paint bottles, all sorts of things. Like I would just basically gift my skills to people to enhance their events. I've gifted balloon setups. I've gifted just creating different gifts, like used to create gift baskets for like baby showers and all sorts of things. So that's kind of how I got started, and that was doing a lot of gifting. Although I do recall it was one time where gifting didn't really work in my favor. If you are an old head here, you probably have heard me tell this story a couple of times. But I used to work at a call center many years ago. When I first got out of the military, I think is when I was working at what's called PRC. If you are from the South Florida area or like just in Florida, I'm not sure. It might be other places, but it's called PRC. It's a call center. And I was on the commercial side for DirecTV. And we had, the Christmas gift exchange. And I think it was like a minimum of like $25 or something like that was like what the exchange was. Well, at that time, I was into making customized jewelry. Yeah, so I said earlier today, like there isn't anything that your girl probably has not done. I used to make earrings and bracelets and all sorts of things, right? So I ended up pulling someone's name, and I actually did get a gift card because for me, it's not like the gift wouldn't be, because I mean, I could have ordered that from someone because I put a lot of thought into it. But I did get a gift card as well, but I left it in my mom's car, right? And I think my mom had gone out of town. It was something to where my mom couldn't get it back to me. So in the little baggie or whatever, I had made a bracelet for a young lady. It was I had asked all around about like her birthstone. She had a kid. I was just asking like a lot of information like about her, just her like I said, her birthday, if she had children, if anybody knew like their birthdays, genders, this, that, and the third, or whatever. So I made this. I remember it. I will never ever forget it. So it was a red bracelet for basically to represent the birthstone ruby, and it had like little silver charms in it. I spelled out her daughter's name, all sorts of stuff, right? So we go to do the gift exchange, and homegirl snaps, and she was like, "Where on my list did you see I wanted a piece of string with some beads on it?" Excuse me? That's how you felt about my stuff? Like she was pissed. She was like, on my list, I put blah 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 blah. And nowhere on my list did I say I wanted some a string with some beads on it. And I'm just like that because I can get like the cheap, like I invested money like in the good beads. Like, I mean, it was nice. Like, this is the stuff that you go places and they're charging a good pretty penny to customize these bracelets. If I'm not mistaken, that one it was a double bracelet at that, double clasp on everything. I was like, okay. So homegirl is like literally going off. Like she is in the break room going off. I'm trying to explain to her about it. And what was crazy to me was my supervisors at the time took her side and they wanted me to give up the gift that was given to me to give to her since I did. Now they don't know. I could have very well gathered all of her information, went and purchased that gift, that bracelet, right? Never once did the rules say it had to be something that came from a store, right? Well, they said it was a craft, it was DIY, and that's not fair that somebody went out and paid. I'm sorry. How do you know I didn't pay for this? Like, technically, the supplies for this is more than y'all little minimum. I'm just so y'all know. But the supervisor like went off on me and tried to get me to give up my Secret Santa like exchange to the person whose name I pulled because of that. This girl threatened to beat me up. Told me to meet her outside in the parking lot. She was gonna be waiting for me and all this other stuff. Girl, one, don't let the professional fool you, girl. It's a couple chicks at Barbara Goldman you might want to holler at before you attempt to say you're gonna fight me. And I was fresh out the military. Girl, please hold. Sorry about that. Thank you guys so much for holding. That was in regards to my dad. So I knew the number, so I had to answer that because they're trying to get everything situated for his release. And because my dad doesn't have insurance, they're calling me about a wound vac and the cost of it. And it's like, and it just sucks. I mean, I'm going to go back to it, but the part that sucks about all of this is happening because my father was, if you were on my TikTok a few weeks ago, I was on TikTok and I was talking about why I do what I do, right? And some people will say, like, for their kids and this, that, and the third, or whatever. And I'm like, I will make sure that I teach my kids the things that we were not taught. We were not privy in my community, my culture. We were not privy to a lot of wealth building and what it takes, and just understanding entrepreneurship, understanding, like, for real, how taxes work. Like, we were just excited. Like, our parents are excited to just get a refund back and be able to kind of go. And, that's when you had, like, go out and splurge on different things or whatever. But like MJ has his own business. Well, him and the boys, him and his brother. So the boys do, and I just kind of teach them. And Zanimani is really, really interested in, like, all this stuff. But on the TikTok live, I was saying that I do this more so for my parents. Like, I would love to be able to, like, really, really retire where they don't have to really worry about anything. So I go so hard. I show up all the time. I'm constantly trying to push classes because it's bigger than me. Well, as soon as I got off of that live video, like, when I tell you, as soon as I got off that live, talking about, like, my dad, because, where with him, he worked for a church for so long, and they basically forced him to retire, but he wasn't at the age of, like, retirement or whatever. So, like, I didn't like the fact of my dad, because he has diabetes and this and the third. He doesn't always take care of himself like he should. Him going out and, like, cutting grass, and we live in Miami. So I was just saying, like, for my dad, I would just love it to where he did not have to worry about, like, those things, because he wasn't quite at the age of, like, full-on retirement. As soon as I got off that call, I'm off that live, I got a call. Hey, did you know your dad has been in the hospital for 5 days because he got hit by a car? Excuse me. I'm sorry. Run it past me again. Yeah, your dad just got out of the hospital. No one knew because my dad lost his phone or whatever. The nurse is there. He couldn't remember anybody's phone number. Mind you, my number's been the same since, like, forever. I've never changed my phone number in 20 some years, but my dad can never remember my phone number. Probably because it's a Broward number. It's a 754 number, but so he remembers, like, people with 305 numbers. Even the 786 ones can sometimes be a little hazy, but you got a 305 number. He likely to remember that one because that's our original area code. So he wasn't able to call anyone. He finally got, like, the doctor came in, who, like, I guess the orthopedic surgeon, and allowed him to use his cell phone. And so he called a family friend. They got a hold of, like, my uncles and aunts and stuff like that or whatever. And then, of course, my uncle called me. So I'm like, okay, what the heck is going on here? So the next day we end up going down to my dad or whatever. He has these rods in his leg, and they're sticking out really, really far. And he kept hitting it because the hallways in my grandmother's house are narrow. So he kept hitting it or whatever, to where he ended up having to, like, he was in a lot of pain. He ended up having to go back to, well, not say to the hospital he went, because he can't stand North Shore. He ended up going to Jackson South. So, which I was okay with. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, because Jackson is a community hospital, it was a place where when people think about hospitals, you don't always kind of, like, want to go there sometimes. But Jackson saved my life. If you don't know, June 30th of last year, I had a heart attack. And had I gone to the VA, the doctor who, like, the next day I ended up having to go, he would have been on call that night. And he told me straight up, because I really had no major risk factors. If I came in with the chest pain, they probably, like, I have been diagnosed, or they would say, like, it's always, like, anxiety, because I do have anxiety attacks and panic attacks. So they would always tell me, like, whenever I had heart issues, like, I would have these bad heart palpitations. It was like in my anxiety going through the roof or whatever. So he would have, and because they have access to my records, he probably would have just chalked it up as another, like, anxiety attack. Well, Jackson ran troponin levels and stuff, and it was elevated. Then they did it again, and it was, you had a heart attack. Heart attacks show up different in women than, like, you see stuff and it's like you're holding your chest and they pass out. It shows up differently in women, especially Black women. So end up, staying in the hospital, whatever. That Monday, they went in, they saw that I had a 90% blockage in my right coronary artery. I have 2 stents in my heart. So I'm very grateful for Jackson Health, because they did something that, had I gone to where I was supposed to go, i.e. the VA, I don't know if I would be here, right? So I'm very, very grateful for them. So when my uncle took him to Jackson South, all right, cool. I don't care what anybody else says about Jackson. Them doctors okay with me. So they realized that my dad's bone was set improperly. They normally don't go over another orthopedic surgeon's work, but it was just set so badly that they went in there, they put a metal plate on the inside and all these things, whatever. So he went several weeks. It's at his ankle. So what happened was, there was like construction on the street where my dad lives, like the main street. And all the traffic was coming on like one lane. So north and south is like on one side of, there's a median, and there normally would be 2 lanes of traffic going south, 2 lanes of traffic going north. Well, all of it was going south. So it was just on that one. Well, a blue truck wasn't paying attention. He swerved into the northbound lane, and it kind of like moved back. So the car saw him like coming over. So they swerved to get out of the way, which means like, so they're coming northbound. So they swerve this way because the truck is coming this way. Well, when they did that, they hit one of like the big barrel barricades, and my dad saw it coming. He was trying to avoid the car, and he was on his bike. He jumped off. The barricade hit his leg and snapped it at his ankle. One of the worst places to have a break, because you actually have no support whatsoever. But my dad is technically, he's not there, but he doesn't live by himself, but his other sibling, like his sibling and his nephew, like they go to work. So like him trying to do certain things for himself, and there's like, he has to wait for my uncle to come, but he was putting pressure on it. I think. So that's what they said. It was like him constantly trying to walk around or whatever without the crutches, because he didn't know how to use crutches. My dad has never been hurt, just did not know how to use crutches. At 60 some odd years old, had never had to use crutches. So, time passes or whatever. And he's like, his leg is hurting. It's like itching like crazy, whatever. My dad is like me, or I'm like my dad. My dad is a very stubborn person. And it's like, we will do things that will infuriate our family, but it always ends up working out for the best. So they were pissed off with him because he unwrapped his leg, because he's like, something's wrong. Where the original rods was a major infection. Where the ones that, remember the first hospital we took him to, they put the rods outside. It was a major infection where those rods were in his leg. And good thing he did take it off when he did, because had he not, he would have been sitting there probably for weeks and weeks with this infection. My dad is a diabetic who wasn't maintaining his diabetes very well. He went in, I think, with like a 400. Now, of course, they're maintaining it. So because of his diabetes, all of the skin and stuff died around it. And he was facing amputation until, I'm not even sure you saw my post. And I was just saying, advocate. My son, I've told this story before too. Like I've shared a lot of my personal life. Makai Jeremiah, when I got pregnant with him, because I have lupus, and the marker for lupus, and I've had several miscarriages before Makai Jeremiah. When I got pregnant with Makai Jeremiah, I started to spot. So I went in, was at Hialeah Hospital, and the doctor there told me that it was not a viable pregnancy, that it was, basically an empty sac. A nurse came and said, hey, these are your numbers, because he told me to go get a DNC that same day. She's like, here are your numbers. Don't do it just yet. Don't, I'm bawling. Like I'm crying my eyes out. Don't do that just yet, whatever. Check up with your doctor, let them run your, run your levels again. If it stays the same, you're probably, did miscarry. If it dropped, you did for sure. If it raises, then don't worry about it. So end up finally scheduling with a doctor, and not the first appointment, the second appointment that I went there was Makai Jeremiah's heartbeat. 13 years later, Makai Jeremiah is still here. So I'm not one, like I had to advocate for myself, and because the guy he came into the room and was like, oh, he's like just bringing up my diagnosis as far as like, like lupus and all the miscarriages, whatever. He's just trying to convince me to go. Nope. I'm going, I did some things, whatever. Same thing happened. Like, it was a bunch of stuff when I was pregnant with MJ. I've always had difficult pregnancies with his jaundice, went through it with Zion Imani. So much so, like with Zion Imani and me advocating for Zion Imani, and I'm like, y'all are not going to do this, X, Y, and Z. Those people threatened to call Child Protective Services on me because they felt like I was not putting his care like first. And I'm like, no, it needs to be boom, 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 boom. And by me not allowing them to do what they thought they needed to do, and for me to continue doing what I said I was going to do, it cleared up a whole lot faster. So of course my husband didn't like it, and because they're kind of they're medical professionals, and I'm like, a diagnosis is nothing but an educated guess. I'm a scientist as well. I know how to read medical journals. I have no problem reading it. When they told me that there was fluid on Zion Imani's brain when his blood flow, I literally had to be in the hospital appointments every single day. Every single week with both of my children. More so, Zion Imani, I had 2 appointments every single week because he had to check him with his heart flow and blood flow and all that stuff, whatever. But I say all that to say, please advocate for yourself, advocate for your family. We have access to technology now that makes it a little bit easy. I'm not saying it evens out the playing field. I will never disregard the time that someone has spent pre-med, or undergrad, pre-med, medical school, residency, all of those things, and the fact that they earned their doctorate degree, right? Never going to disregard that. But at the same time, diagnoses, a lot of times, like, they're just taking symptoms and they're going to figure this out. They're going to write this, they're going to write that. Like, they are literally making educated guesses. There are shows around the fact that they're just making educated guesses. And it's okay for you to at least offer up questions, right? To make them take a second look. And that's what happened with my dad. They were ready to cut it off. And I'm like, okay, we don't come to the decision lightly. We've exhausted all possible, And, we find that normally with, cases like this, when it comes to diabetes, because it takes them so long to heal, it's better to just go ahead. And they wanted to do it as a preventative. Not that it was necessary, it was preventative. All right, cool. So, angiography. Did we do that? Did we check his blood flow? And if you did, which ones? Was it the one for the leg? Was it just the toe? Is there nerve damage? Is there gangrene? Like, I'm literally running it all down, right? And it's kind of like, oh, we can't play with her. Like, and just say, oh, this, we're the professionals. This is what you need to do. So they already had him scheduled for Sunday. Orthopedic surgeon called me on Sunday. We're not going to touch your dad's leg. Trust me, I know that, boo-boo kitty, because you're not going to do that until you give me all of those answers that I asked the medical doctor. So they end up running the test again. Vascular came in, which of course I know all about vascular because I suffer from bad migraines. I had to go through this whole thing with vascular and all of my veins because it was just a whole bunch of stuff with the heart. I just understand vascular. So they ran those tests. They did it again today. And so that was them telling me that my dad can be released, but now they just have to kind of arrange all the stuff like his home care health and his womb vac, because he definitely needs to have that to keep that infection down because of his diabetes and all that kind of good jazz. So now it's just trying to figure out how I'm going to pay for this. Jesus. Whew. But anywho, advocate. And I was saying, like, you have access. So it's not really leveling out the playing field, but because you have access to things like Google, Chat GPT. Thanks. I'm sorry. I keep doing this because he keeps popping in here. He has no pants on. Close the door. To where you can at least ask it questions, and it's going to search a lot of these medical journals. Before, this information was not easily accessible, and you did kind of have to rely on the information that they had, because this information was really only in books that doctors and colleges and all these things, like, they had access to it. We live in an age now where you have access to the same information, to the same medical journals. I mean, Chat GPT, because it crawls and it brings in a lot of information. Not all of it is 100% accurate. It's not like it's giving you professional, like medical or like legal advice, things like that. But it can help you with the questions to ask medical professionals. Okay. So make sure that you guys are utilizing those. So many people talk about AI and Chat GPT for business. Please understand that there are so many other uses and ways that it can be beneficial in your life. Even though I have gone through therapy, when I'm just having a tough time, I will even ask it, like, because if I can't get to someone, just for different, if I notice, like, if I'm very irritated or agitated, like, especially with my kids, whatever, I mean, just different things. If something happened, or, an argument with my teenager, just asking, like, what's a way, how do I approach him? Or it's just so many things that you can utilize Chat GPT for. I mean, outside of business, I use it for business too, but I've used it to help me figure out, how to eat better after having the heart attack. I'm going to use it to figure out what all, like, I'm supposed to have for my dad with this recovery, and the best foods for him with his diabetes, to make sure that he has a full recovery, because he's not out of the woods yet. So after all this stuff is done, because he lost all that skin, he's going to have to get a skin graft from his back and tissue and put over that he has an open wound on his leg. So it's a whole lot of, but just advocate and utilize the resources that are afforded to us through modern technology. Okay. So it actually wasn't really the topic, to be honest. I was talking about like gifting, and then I got the call about my dad, and I had to kind of, give him the finger a couple of times. So I just kind of gave the backstory on, what was happening with my dad. But yeah. Thank you guys so very much. Okay, thank you. So it's gonna be a bit of an adjustment for me. I'm gonna end up being a full-on caretaker, because my dad won't be able to move, and I told him, like, you got to come with us, like, for at least a month. I know you're a little independent man and whatnot, but you got to come with us for a little bit. And my brother threatened him, was like, look, you better go, okay, before I bust you up. I'm a nurse. I have lupus and diabetes. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for that. And I felt that way. I was afraid to share, even when I had my heart attack. And it was so many people, especially me, talking about the fact that it does not show up in women, especially Black women, the way that it would, and you see on TV, and people hold their chest, and not to make it a race thing, but it's just, technically, like, this is how it kind of happens for white males. And, like, you kind of see that and can't breathe and kind of fall that happens more so with white males, and it shows up differently with different people. And just so you know, I mean, with my heart attack, I had this tightening in my chest, but because, hello, me being, a nerd, me being a researcher, even though I got into what I do now because I was all, I thought I would be a doctor. My mom thought I would be a doctor. I was way ahead of my sciences. And when I was in 11th grade, I had anatomy and physiology. I was okay in biology, cutting up a crawfish. No, I think it was like regular science biology, cutting up a frog, or maybe it was in anatomy physiology. I think I cut up a frog twice, but I drew the line at cutting up a pig, little baby pig. So no, it wasn't going to happen. I wish I'd have been like MJ now, when they just did like a little shark or something. I think I could have dealt with that, but the baby pig, couldn't do it. So I ended up not being like having to leave my anatomy and physiology. And that's at that moment I knew I was not gonna be a doctor. Ended up taking my first graphic designing class at Barbara Goldman, and here we are, right? So that was the start of who is now the professor in that one graphic designing class, and it just kind of changed my life. Didn't know it would be like this. I just was doing graphic designing, but never knew I would have a whole business around teaching others graphic designing. But what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying now. Dang it. Oh, so I knew that when I felt it on my left side, right? I told my husband, I'm like, okay, no, left side is the one. Like, and so when I felt that tingle in my arm and it was like numb, I was like, I don't care, get me to the nearest hospital. And I told y'all, Jackson hasn't been known as like the greatest hospital here. It's like a community hospital. I did not care. It is literally like up the street from my house. Get me there and get me there now. Got through the door and my knees fell from under me. And yep, then like 30 minutes later, Miss LaBelle, you had a heart attack. Sorry, excuse me. What? Yeah, it was in ICU. And it was a scary time, but yeah, I've told that one a couple of times, but at first I wasn't going to share, but there's a lot of people that needed to know that. And it encouraged a lot of people to kind of go, not skip their checkups and things like that. So good for you. It's so important. We definitely have to advocate for ourselves or have someone advocate for you if you can't exactly. Thank you. Appreciate it, everyone. No problem. All right. So we're 40. Back to the subject at hand. This topic before all of that was about, I was asking if you guys could see the title. And it's like, are you really making money crafting? And we kind of started off, and I was saying that I started off with gifting things because someone made a comment to that about, they make stuff for gifts. And I don't typically use the word crafting. Now, lately, because of coaching and paying someone, because I'm like, there has to be a disconnect. I know I'm the bomb.com. I know I teach this better than anybody on the face of the earth. Like, that's the confidence that I have in the things that I know about printers, the things that I know about designing, the things that I know in like something like cutting foam board, using silhouette. I know what I know, and the things that I know them well because I stay invested in learning more and more and more and just sharpening my skills all the time. But I'm like, there's a disconnect somewhere. Like, why is my channel not doing the numbers it should? Like, I'm giving my all here. I'm showing the things, like what is going on? And it was, well, it was suggested to me. It was because I don't use the word crafting, right? To say, oh, start your craft business. But I'm like, but that's a lie. So it's like not really lying, but letting people hear what they want to hear. Like I had to learn to use those buzzwords to kind of attract people here. Because I don't consider, to me, crafting is hobby. Like that's something you do. It's gonna, you're gonna DIY. If you don't know DIM, yes, that's a phrase for me. It's do it myself. Okay. People are like, oh, do it yourself. It's myself. It's like people like DIY and they're talking about themselves. See, this is why, and there's a problem for me. I used to give people the side eye. The hell DIY? Like that's like for me to tell you to DIY it. Do it yourself. But when you're talking about it yourself, you can't say DIY. So I always say DIM, do it myself. But, it never caught on for people. They're so used to just DIY, but, neither here nor there. But it's stuff like that to where I'm like, it makes sense to me. Like it's the truth. But the community at large is looking at me like, girl, it's DIY. Or, it's a craft business. And I'm like, Michael's is a craft business. Joanne's is a craft business. What you're doing is simply a business. Or actually, even Joanne's, they're not even a craft business. I mean, they are a business that happens to sell craft supplies, for crafters, but they're not a craft business. For me, my mindset is once you are in business, you are in business. It's not like you can be in like there's retail, there's general merchandising, and things of that nature. There's wholesale, there's distribution when it comes to like physical products. But I'm like, what is a craft business? I don't understand this because it's just a business. Most people think of crafting as arts and crafts, so you have to be mindful of that. This might be one of the reasons why you're not making money. But, through coaching, they're like, look, if you want to reach them folk, you got to call it crafting. So I try my best to weave in crafting. Because I was always, your creative endeavors, you're building a skill set. These are words, they're like, the crafters are not going to come. They're not checking for you, Shakia, because they want to hear you say they're going to become six-figure earners from crafting. If you don't start doing that, you're not going to be successful. So I'm trying my best to like weave it in, as much as I can, without throwing up in my mouth. But yeah, I'm trying my best to use crafting right now. So, it took me 2 years after I learned to sew to make money. And that's one of the things I'm finding now too, is a lot of people don't want to wait that time frame to really learn the thing. I am a firm believer, to charge a certain amount means that you're expecting some form of professionalism. And if you're just starting out, you're just learning. And I mean, even if some people are just great at what they do and they can come out the gate killing it, right? Like they're I mean, it's like, dude, like, are you sure you just started this? But you don't really understand it's like, it might be like beginner's luck, right? In business, for me, I feel like knowing how to navigate those bumps in the road. And if you're just thinking it's going to be all smooth sailing, when you have those bumps in the road, you're not going to know how to navigate them. So I'm a firm believer in really perfecting your skill set, or improving, being as efficient as possible in your skill set before you say that it's a business. It is okay to have a side hustle, even if you give your side hustle a name, because you want to be able to separate it. I've learned, if, depending on how much money you're going to bring in, and if you're doing a lot of digital transactions, you kind of have to have that structure. It's not necessarily to say a business, because on taxes, it says self-employment. And you are generating revenue yourself, not through someone's company, but it's still not quote unquote like a business per se, because it's just kind of a side hustle. And it's okay. I don't know why people why side hustle has this negative connotation. You can do side hustling very well. You can do it professionally. And it just means that, for me, by my definition, there's a lot of things that you have to consider in business and in pricing, where as a side hustle, where you're just going to take that money and be able to just kind of use it for yourself, is very different than when you're running a business and you have all these systems and other things. You have business overhead that you have to take care of. So your pricing will be different. You and I could both sell this mug, right? We both could sell this mug. We both can be perfect at making this mug that is completely like it's a full wrap. But someone who DIY'd it, right? Someone who's doing side hustle as, will price this in a way where they're just going to look at the cost of the mug. They're going to look at the cost and figure out a formulation for the cost of the ink and the paper, maybe the tape. And then they're going to put some sort of value on an upcharge for it. They're not considering anything else. So if it cost, let's say, and also because they're probably buying things retail, it's going to cost them more for this. So let's say if it costs them a total of, I'm just going to say $5 to make it, which is really, really high. But actually, no, not really, because this is probably like retail, probably like $4, $6. So let's just say it costs them $5, $6 to make it. A crafter will then go and say that I'm going to sell this. Some people will double it. Some people may go 3 times the amount. So it'll be $10, or it's going to be 15 for some, right? Well, there's a lot of factors that people don't consider. When you are a business, most of you guys are not accounting for labor. You're not putting value to your time, which is crazy to me, because on your job, you expect them to pay you for the time that you work. But the moment you decide to become an entrepreneur, it's almost like you forget that labor is a factor. Most of it is because you are afraid to say that price and put a value on it, But this is when you're not quite ready for business if you have that fear of putting a certain value on what it is that you do. Um, Crafters don't think like business owners where we're thinking about our overhead, every subscription that we have to have in order to make business work, all the systems that we have in place to make business work, in order to generate more income and open ourselves up so that we can take on more orders. You have people don't think about labor until they're hiring somebody. Well, guess what? It's like some of you guys listen to part of what people say about business. Don't mix your business, don't commingle funds, and all this, but then you don't apply that same thing in the fact that the business is separate from you, right? You are an employee of that business. If you've created a business, especially if you've taken the time to go ahead and create an LLC and actually structure your business, even though tax wise you are still the same, except for that Schedule C, you should operate where you are an employee for this business. This business has to pay you. Okay. It's the mindset that you should go into this, even in the beginning, the infancy stages of whatever it is that you're going to build. That is the most important mindset to have. The moment that you have an inkling of maybe making this some sort of business, separate the two. It is it's no longer, okay, well, I'm going to go and do this, whatever. And once I sell it, okay, all that money comes back to me. I'm about to go and get me some food, about to go get me some hair. I'm about to go pay my phone bill, da, 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 da. No, because a business person thinks about the fact that they have to have money in their business to operate. A crafter does not think about mistakes. A business owner understands that we are all human. Even if machines were making it, machines mess up too. There are whole stores created for the mess ups of machinery, and something's a little bit off and things like that. Whole stores that will sell you things that machines have messed up. So nobody is perfect. No machine is perfect. No human is perfect. There's going to be mess ups. As a business owner, in your pricing, you are accounting for those mess ups. As a business owner, we understand that business has to run sales, right? You account for that in the original cost. I teach that in my pricing for profit. Someone who's going to teach you to be a crafter will say things like, oh, well, sell this mug for 15. Oh, but then you're going to bundle it, or you're going to sell them multiple of them. You're going to sell them three of them, which would be 45. Okay, well, sell it to them for 40, or sell it to them for 30. And it's almost like, okay, well, it's almost like buy one, get one free. Or you might do like 35 or whatever. But it takes, your business still requires, you still have to make money for your business to run, right? It's the same amount of work, and 3 mugs is not bulk. Your process is not reduced to where you can offer that with 3 mugs. Now, I can see if it was like for a business, you're talking about a whole case. Your process, you're no longer putting this in a single mug press. Some of you guys are giving discounts out and you're putting it in a single mug press, and you're waiting 4 to 7 minutes or 8 minutes for one mug to be done. It's going to take you forever. And then you feel like because it took you forever, because you were not efficient in how you were running your business, that your customer has to then eat that cost. But then when corporate America does it, oh, that's corporate greed. Even though for you, it's on a smaller level, you feel like you're not making hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars and billions of dollars. When you go and you are charging someone a higher price and you really didn't put any thought into it, you're just charging this just to charge it, and you're feeling like, oh, because it took me forever because I really don't know what I'm doing, because I didn't really give myself time to practice and learn it. I just happened to watch a video. I just happened to take a class, whatever, and they said, okay, learn this, turn it into a business, and now you're going to be thriving. You are no different than the companies that you complain about saying corporate greed, because you want someone to pay for time and pay for a skill that you have not perfected or that you're able to do efficiently. I see people crab about, okay, but they don't understand all these mess ups. I wasted so much material. Well, if you're constantly wasting a lot of material, then we should be reevaluating how, like, are we really in business? Are we ready for this as business? Or should we, at the very least, I know for me, when I started, I can't eat the cost of your supplies, but it was almost like it was on the job training, right? You buy the supplies, I'm going to basically donate my labor. I'm constantly taking notes. I'm identifying what works, what doesn't work. Okay, well, this time, okay, we'll do this. It cut this time down. Like, you should always be like, it's always a research phase in business, especially a creative business where things change, methods change. It might be, because it's not just you. Maybe now your heat press is, on its way out, but you can't really afford to get one. You have to go and adjust and do different things. Like, there's a lot of research to be done. If I had to do, okay, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. I've done a lot of talking. I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Okay. If you had to do, okay, so no, that was one of the clients, someone whose helmet I did, and they want to add on to what I'm doing to the helmet. So, okay, so the question I was about to ask, if you had to do 10, no, make it a little bit higher. If you had to do 50 of these exact same mugs, let's even say maybe not fully wrapped, because this takes a lot of time. I personally would never do 50 mugs like this. So let's just say it was like your traditional mug, right? If you had to do 50 of these, someone had a request for 50 of, no, exactly like this. There's no customization. They want this exact design. They want 50 of them. How would you facilitate that order? No, this design right here is just a one. You have to remember, my vault is not for designs, it's for templates. I've thrown in a couple designs here and there, at the request of some, like, some of my faves, but I don't, the template vault is not about designs. And this was a pattern. So the pattern, the template to do a full wrap, that is in the vault. But this particular pattern is not in the vault because it's not for designs. This isn't mine. It was a background that came from somewhere. I believe, though, one of my sublimation seminars has this design, I think, or is it the tribal one? One of those. But no, this isn't mine. Though it wasn't the planned topic, is important and very informative. Do you have any other symptoms that women should be aware of? Good health for money. Thank you for sharing. I talked about it a little bit before. Like, I felt this pain in my back for a couple days. Like, it wasn't just in my chest. It was literally in my back. I couldn't move. I thought it was sore muscles in my back, and then it went to my chest and then my arm. That was the progression of, how. So I was actually having a heart attack for a couple days and didn't know it. Just had this conversation this morning. What exactly makes a company give bulk pricing? Oh, that's a great one. Okay, well, no one's answering my question. All right. So I'll save that for Creative Lounge. You guys want to answer the questions I have? I'm not gonna be able to provide you with more information. So I will answer the question that is here. So what makes a company give bulk pricing, bulk numbers? 2 or 3 is not bulk. 10 is not bulk. A whole case, yes, that can be considered bulk, especially if you have the means to be able to make, like, to cut down the process, right? When it comes to let's say like shirts, if I were to make a shirt from regular vinyl, if it's like one off, two offs, or whatever, and I'm just going to use regular smooth vinyl, well, they now want 50 shirts, 100 shirts. I'm not going to use vinyl. I'm going to use another method, and it's damn sure not going to be DTF. Y'all need to pause. I am not saying that DTF is not cool, right? There's a time and a place for it. DTF is a great onesie twosies couple, like no more than maybe like 5. And I've done a few, like a little bit more than that. I'll say like 10 at the most. Anything more than that, it is not the best option to go with, because it is, you break that down on the sizes, it can be quite expensive, especially with the size that, most DTF printers print, that 22, which I only send mine 21 and a half because of that little color thing that goes on the side. I teach this in Creative Lounge. We've actually had this conversation about DTF, but it's not all that people make it out to be. Like, it's just this super money saver. It really isn't. There are so many other methods that would be major money savers, especially if you're talking about single color. So it will be like screen print transfers, or you can go with traditional screen printing if you have enough of them and just have somebody screen print them for you, and you're just facilitating the order. You're getting paid to do no work. Like, who doesn't want to get paid to do absolutely no work other than to secure the order? But when you can cut your cost, so buying a single mug will be different than buying a case of mugs. You're cutting your costs down per mug. Once you reach that level of how the unit is for the case, then that could qualify for you offering somewhat of a discount to them, the equivalent of how much you're saving in your mugs. You don't have to give them that, but it's like how much you're saving. If now, instead of wasting a whole sheet of paper because it was one mug, if you're able to fit 2 or 3 on there, and now you're printing out more, or if you were using 8.5 by 11, now you're using 13 by 19, you can fit more on there. So it's going to cost you less per wrap. This is where bulk pricing comes in, because you're not using the same amount of material cost. Like, the material cost isn't the same, and your labor could be about the same. But if you have the resources to cut that down. So even though you guys did not bother to answer me, if most people, they're going to have a mug press, they might think to go buy, well, I got this big order, they paid me or whatever, let me go buy a mug press, another mug press, right? Or they might get an oven. They're going to go and get the little convection oven, and they're going to fit like 3 or 4 in there. However, myself, I'm going to wrap all these, I'm going to throw all of them in my regular range oven. I will be able to fit 20 some odd of these in an oven. They're going to all be done in the same amount of time, and I'm not doing them one by one. The fact that I can cut down my production time will qualify that order where I'm willing to give you some sort of discount for it. But some of the discounts that y'all give, it's way too much, way too much. And you're not really making any money because you're giving away these ridiculous discounts just to secure an order. It screams desperation a lot of the times. Okay. Let's see. I wouldn't take the order because I didn't have the effectiveness to do it. But do you have an oven? Well, I don't know. In your situation, do you have a regular size oven? Bulk is usually greater than a case or around a case. Some people can't do that. Or depending on the method that you are doing. I like in my camper, okay, I'm not going to do 50 of those in my 8x1 air fryer. Okay. Our regular oven uses propane, and I don't bother using that oven for anything. I mean, it would still, you could do it, but that's the other part of this, right? You would say, I wouldn't take this order. Want to know why? Because you are afraid to outsource. If they are coming to you, they don't know the person with a larger oven. They don't know the person with a mug press with like 10 spots to it, right? They don't, you're creating the design for it. Even if you were to print them, if you were to tape them, and you were to deliver them in a crate or whatever to someone that had a large oven and have them make it. That's where things like my creative lounge comes in at. Some of you guys think there are so many things that you cannot do because you cannot physically do it in your craft space, your creative space, your workspace. And you don't think about outsourcing unless it's just for prints. Oh, I don't have a big printer. It's okay to outsource that. But when it comes to actually doing the job, you guys feel like you're losing money by outsourcing it. You can do all of the work up until the point of actually firing them off. Let somebody else do that. If it was an order where even screen print transfers would be kind of time consuming, you don't have the space, guess what? You can either order, y'all will never know some of the orders I do because they are private labeled, like they're privately done by me. Their customers will never know that they are not the ones producing that because I don't put it on my platform. I don't advertise. I do things for these particular companies. They order their screen print transfers, or what I really order them because I help them facilitate the order. I have their transfers in stock. They either bring me their items, or for some of them, we actually have some of their products. And when they have an order, they go through the channels, whatever, they let me know, I produce it, they come pick it up. That's the end of that, right? You think I'm worried about the fact that I may only make $5 on it? I didn't have to market it. I didn't have to pay for the transfers. I didn't have to pay for the apparel. So I don't care how much you mark it up. I don't care if you go and you sell that for $60. Your business may warrant you to sell that shirt for $60. Am I supposed to get upset because you're selling a shirt for $60 and all I made was $5 off of it to go and bring my heat press down for 5 seconds? Absolutely freaking not. Let me get my five. Who doesn't want to get paid $5 for working 5 minutes? Like not even 5 seconds, 7 seconds. Okay, let's say maybe a whole 2 minutes. By the time I go, I grab it, put it on the heat press, grab their transfer, put it on there. I might spend 2 minutes. Give it even 5 minutes to make $5. I don't have to worry about marketing it, branding it, dealing with the customer, nothing. But you guys are not of that mindset because you listen to people that talk to you about crafting. So the mindset is different for crafting, and you don't have the mindset of business. This is why, for some of you, your craft business is not really making money because you are continuing to operate it as a craft business instead of having the mindset of business. Okay, so I would still have to consider the cost factors, give discount based on my cost and time savings depending on equipment. You have to separate oven. No, I do not. So the same oven that I'm about to cook, like I cook in, you can sublimate in. That is the biggest urban myth. Stop letting them folks scare you. If it was, I want you guys to really think about this. If sublimation was this toxic process, this shirt that I have on, that I made on a press without wearing any mask or anything. Some people wear a mask, and it's not that that's toxic. They have to wear it because of their own health system, their respiratory system. But if I'm able to press this, and those fumes that are on an open press, and when you move it, are not going to affect me, why do people feel like if it's in the oven, it will? That same oven, you're not letting it sit there, letting it so-called die down. That timer goes off. The average crafter, the average person who's using a small oven is opening that door and they're pulling out those mugs. If it was toxic, you just expose yourself. There is nothing toxic about sublimation. The word gas scares people, but it's not a gas that's like on the periodic table. It goes through a gaseous state. Dry ice goes through sublimation. There's actually a lot of other things that go through a form of sublimation. Sublimation is a scientific process, not just for this. This is dye sublimation, but this is not the only thing that goes through the sublimation process. So That's that. You definitely could. If they will allow you to come use their oven for about 10 minutes because you have everything done. You put all of them in the oven. They're going to be in there 10, maybe 12 minutes, depending on how many you put in there and depending on which paper and stuff like that that you're using. And you'll be in their hair for a little bit. Enough time to unload them, put them in there, take them out, let them cool down before you put them back in your crate or your box or whatever and going on about your business. That simple. And it's okay. It's a personal preference. I understand that. And that is totally up to you. All I'm saying is it's not a risk. But if you choose to say, well, I choose not to take that chance, then that is perfectly fine. Please hold. All right. Sorry guys, I have to go because now they're calling me back about my dad. So I gotta go. I don't know how long this phone call is gonna take, and I have some paperwork to fill out. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this off. But I get it. You know, you could choose to not personally use the one that you cook in. Just know if you want to do further research on it, it's it's almost like how with my dad, it's like a precautionary thing. Some people may feel some type of way, but there's actually nothing toxic about the sublimation process. And as far as it gassing off, especially when you're using a paper like Honestly Speaking sublimation paper, it does not blow out the back. It does not gas off. Everything goes towards the substrate. So there's nothing that's coming out that's going to be a problem, especially when you're using Honestly Speaking sublimation paper. But that is, like I said, everyone makes their own decisions. I choose to because I know the science behind it. Okay. But I have to go. I often wondered about that. I've heard others use their home cooking appliance too. Thank you for your honest opinion. All right, so I got to run. Until next time, guys, have a great one. Continue to unlock your creativity. Be incredible. Peace.